Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing out there today?
Super.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Doing great.
Good morning.
All right. Well, we are here coming in on mid-October, and that means it's hurricane season. So we've got some hurricane topics coming up. A couple of things that are just around the concept of when you're healthy, you're able to first, you're able to take care of yourself, but also you're able to maybe help take care of others. So we're going to have some talks on that. We're going to have David Dassow, aka Bueller. That's kind of an inside joke for those that are on the preamble with us. But Bueller is going to be talking about tree set points. So we're looking forward to that. I'm going to get geeky and nerdy as I often do and talk about the mucin layer and the epithelial layer of your gut and have some fun with that. So for you Floridians that are kicking around after Mr. Milton paid you a visit, let's turn it over to you guys. And let's start it off with Bruce and Eileen. How you guys doing there this morning?
Hey, we just got home yesterday and we got power after we moved all our food over to my sister's condo, which had power.
Oh.
And so we left it all there and came back home to sleep at home. Anyway, we're happy to be home.
Yes, nice to be back.
But I did want
Amen.
to, I wanted to share something that that I think is pretty amazing. We've just had two hurricanes back to back, one of which Bruce was not home. He was out west. So we have a lanai that has heavy furniture. I had some kids help me and I moved the furniture and then, well, they did mostly. I didn't think I could, but then after the hurricane, I had some people staying with me and I moved the furniture back with someone else. So I'm like, well, I can do that now. And before HealthPointe, I used to get a lot of muscle spasms in my back and sometimes it put me in bed for a week. And I really haven't had that for a while, but I've been afraid to test it. And I tested it and I'm like, wow, I can do it. And actually it's good for me to use these stinking muscles, it's time to start getting stronger. So that was an eye opener. And then today, as you can see, while we're both in high vis, we're going to meet at 9 o'clock to go help the community pick up. And I'm going. And I did not do that before, because I was afraid I'd have a muscle spasm and end up in bed, but I'm strong now. And I'm sure the supplements are helping me. I'm positive they're helping me with my overall health. And of course, not eating junk all the time. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm kind of lazy. I don't really want to go pick up garbage and stuff, but it's good for me. It's good for the community and it's going to help me get stronger. So now I'm going to start looking for ways to use my muscles. And it's all because of HealthPointe. It's HealthPointe. I'm not kidding. It's HealthPointe.
Yeah, I mean, and because let's just talk about that. It's been roughly a year. So you've had, we'll say, this is kind of your first full-blown hurricane season. Well, maybe you've had two hurricane seasons in your history of HealthPointe. So you have a very fresh before and after. In terms of your ability, your physical ability, your willingness, your emotions, your mental health, your ability to go out and help others. And how many, to give us the numbers again?
So I started on August 14th, 2023. So it's been, that hurricane season, I couldn't help with things like that. I could cook or whatever in the house, but not that. I've lost like 75 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit lower, but I did a mess up, as you know, on maintenance, and I'm still working on getting back to my lowest. I'm about 5 pounds up from my lowest. So I had lost 76.2 and I count the 0.2s.
Which is great. I mean, those details matter. So, 70 pounds, we'll call it 70 pounds plus down. What a difference in basically a year. And not only that lack of weight on your knees, on your back, on your joints, but also with the great macronutrients. You know, you're eating different, you know, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats than you did before. And then you're filling in those nutritional gaps with your omegas and your, you know, double X, your multivitamin, multimineral and stuff. You're fueling your cells. And here you are, basically a 1 short year later. And what a difference in terms of your ability to take care of yourself. You guys collectively, you and Bruce, to be able to take care of yourselves, and so well that now you can also reach out and take care of others as well.
Yeah, and I hurt my knee over a year ago, and I kind of complain that it still hurts, but it is way better too. So I can help others. Like, we've had people stay with us. I have to do a lot of the work. Well, when Bruce isn't here, I was doing all of it because I don't know, whatever. And that's how I could do it. You know,
That's
I can
so
do it.
awesome.
I'd like to
Yeah.
also comment, I didn't know if Hank was going to or not, but he was viewing some of Eileen's Facebook pictures from the hurricane because they headed up north. And he said, what a sharp contrast of youthful, fit, slender presence you had, Eileen, you and Bruce, and how much it stood out. And so we want to give you that compliment, because sometimes we say these things to each other, but we don't say them to the person that should hear them. And so, yeah, it was very, very evident how much of a difference your HealthPointe choice has made in your life and in the lives of others, because now you can get out and help others.
Yeah,
So,
it's just wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful program.
Yeah, your kind of before and after pictures, that beautiful picture in that black outfit is just, it's, if we didn't know you, we'd almost just, it's just mind blowing. It's such a difference. Actually, in both of you, you got that picture, you and Bruce standing together. It looks like you're at a conference or a function, and I think Bruce is in a suit and tie, and then that after picture of the two of you standing next to each other. Yeah, a year later, it's like, wow. And that's a combined 110 pounds down, and equally as importantly, I mean, your cellular health is just dramatically different, and you can just see it in you. You look great.
Thank you. I'm just really happy.
Awesome. Well, and you've got a amazing coaches in Carol and Hank. And speaking of other hurricane commentary, Carol, how you doing?
I'm doing great. There is not a cloud in the sky. It is so amazing how a couple of days, but what they can do to literally, take a full different look. We are indeed very blessed. And
Carol, your picture is not on, Carol.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I've got multiple pictures. Let me see here. I can't seem to.
Let me help you here. You should see something pop up.
I'm seeing multiple pictures, but I can't seem to get back to the.
That's okay. Just hang tight one moment. Just wait. Look at your screen.
Wait.
You should see. Okay, go ahead.
Because the host has this. Oh, you disabled my video.
Yes, you had us.
Host has. Okay.
There you are.
Oh, I am. Okay. All right. So let me put this. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. For some reason, I had multiple pictures on here, which I don't normally. I usually just have you, Eric. Anyway, yeah. So it's been a very, very interesting adventure, and we just ask continued prayer for all of the people in Florida that were affected in a negative way, and all the way up the coast with Helene. But all that being said, first of all, God totally blessed us. There's no damage to our home. A little small screen in our pool area, little tiny patch. In fact, I was hiring the guy while we were on the call here. There was a screen guy. I went right over to him and hired him. So, double duty here. But I really want to say what Eileen said. I want to really ditto that. Being physically fit during things like this is so helpful because I so related to her about the moving of the furniture, and we had a lot of help. We had a beautiful couple come and put our hurricane windows shutters up, and then also take them down, and stuff like that. Obviously, only skilled people need to do, but the moving of furniture, all of that kind of stuff, just the mental stamina. But I'll tell you real quick, at the plea of our two of our three sons, well, actually all of them, they please begged us, because one's from North Carolina, so he saw the devastation of Asheville, and he said, please, you don't have to go far, just get out of the cone. So we did, like Eileen, she had it north, we had it south to Naples. And we had a newfound friend that we met only three weeks ago or so. She's a top artist at an interior decorating company that is not far from us. And we just went over to network and meet people and stuff. Well, anyway, I knew she was in Naples. So I called her and she graciously opened her home to us. So we went down and we had, it was a little over a day, a couple of nights. But she's a health nut, not a health nut. She's very healthy oriented. And so we talked health the whole time. We went out to dinner to a Lebanese place and ate all healthy stuff, lentil soup and hummus and all this really clean stuff. And we just talked health the whole weekend. Well, I don't want to take up a lot of time here. I just want to mention a couple of things that I learned from her. And you might already know this, and I kind of did, but she reconfirmed it. When you're buying eggs, try to get cage-free eggs. And the darker the yolk, the more nutrients in the egg. And I had read that just recently. And she was telling me that she goes right to the farm. And Eric, you would relate to this. She gets eggs that have never been refrigerated. So she said, a non-refrigerated egg should never get refrigerated. If you're in the store and you buy them refrigerated, then they need refrigeration. So that was one thing I learned. The other thing is the richness and darkness of the egg was reminded last night as Hank and I were eating an omelet, and I cracked open these blue heirloom eggs, which are cage-free and real dark, rich, yellow gold yolks. And I thought, well, there you go. There's the difference. So that's one thing to remember about eggs when you're selecting eggs. If you happen to come across a brand that has a really nice, dark, rich yolk, that's not an old egg. That's a very good egg. So that was that. And she also gave me, we talked health the whole time. And she also gave me an app that I think you guys would all just really, really love. And it's called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. Now, some of you might already know about this app. We did not. So we downloaded it right away, and I came home. And what you do is you go to the barcode, and once you download the app, you can scan that barcode on your food, and it will pull up a whole really, really nice reading, and it'll tell you the sodium. First of all, it'll rate it from 0 to 100, and it'll say excellent, good, poor. And so it'll rate it right off the bat. So you know if it's going to be poor, you definitely don't want to be reordering that. But anyway, so let's say it rated excellent, and it'll tell you all the top things, all the reasons it's excellent. Low sodium, low healthy, good healthy fats, whatever. There's about 6 or 7 different readings that it'll tell you. Then it goes down to poor, and it'll say, a couple of mine said a little bit, not bad, but a little bit calorie intense, which means a little higher in calories. So if somebody is really counting their calories, they would know that. And then it'll tell why it's poor. It'll tell you if it has any pesticides or chemicals or anything that are harmful. It'll also tell you if there's like only 1 or 2 tiny things, it'll say not really detrimental to your health. And so it's a real, real nice app, so that as you are going through your kitchen and you're buying things, it will actually really give you an in-depth understanding of what you're already ordering and what maybe you want to change. And it'll even give you some suggestions of things you can buy instead of that for that purpose. So I just wanted to say, grateful, as Nancy Dornan says, never grateful enough. We're extremely grateful. No flooding, no damage. Just, beautiful experience in Naples with our newfound friend, health ideas, and everything's back to normal, and we're grateful. So back to you, Eric.
Oh, that's great stuff. You're almost compelling me the next time a hurricane is coming for Florida. I kind of want to come down to your guys' neck of the woods. That sounds like a blast. I mean, get to sit around, and talk health with friends during your kind of sequestering period. That sounds like a lot of fun. It's interesting that Yucca app, I have heard of it, but just recently. In fact, a shout out to a client of ours, Beth, who just a handful of days ago said, "Hey, Eric, not sure if you're familiar with this," and she shot that over to me, and I wasn't. So I agree, Carol. That's a very useful looking app. So great stuff on that. We're increasingly getting more and more equipped, more technology. I think the general just kind of zeitgeist of the overall Americans, certainly, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but Americans are really turning towards wanting to get healthier, and that includes some of these types of tools and technologies and apps that help equip us to be able to do this even easier. In fact, I'm kind of checking out an app. I won't mention it right now because I want to do some experimentation before I think it's something that is recommended. But those of us in the HealthPointe program, particularly those that are active in a 6-week cycle, know the value of logging food. The whole premise of what gets measured gets managed, what gets measured improves. And Carol, I know that you're just so great, and you speak to that about how you physically log your food so well. And but certainly if somebody is on a 6-week cycle, that is a very, very key thing. But it is, depending on somebody's personality, some people struggle with it more than others. Some people just love getting down and writing it out. Other people love, opening up an app and typing it in and stuff like that. Others are just, they just shrivel at the thought of doing that. It's a real kind of a change in their personality and discipline to kind of get through that. Well, there may be some technology that can help with that in terms of, literally being able to take a picture of the food, which still takes a step, but is very easy. Literally just take a picture of it, and it will break down every macronutrient in there. It'll and also analyze the portion size, so it can literally get into the data that we look to for HealthPointe, which is how many net carbs fundamentally is what we're looking at, particularly in the 4-week portion of the 6-week cycle, but also what your overall macronutrient profile is, how many fats, how many proteins, and so forth. So I'll play around with that, and if it proves to be something that's of value, I'll share it with the community. No, that sounds absolutely awesome. Also on the eggs, yes, you're right. Emily and I are fortunate that one of her coworkers also has kind of a small farm that they love to have, and we are buying them up out of all their eggs that they have routinely. So if you guys can get to sources like that, kind of the farm to table type of setting, that's the best, especially for eggs. Well, hey, Bueller, aka David Dassow, turning it over to you if you're available. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, and I just want to say it's really great to see Carol safe and healthy. And so had great concerns as we did watch the pictures of the hurricane. So good to see you, Carol.
Thank you.
And what I wanted to share today was I have a client Well, number one, we back up. So Chris, my wife, lost 100 pounds on HealthPointe and went from being on 4 medications to 3. And so she's been on maintenance for 10 plus years. And probably over that time and COVID and all those things, she gained like 5-10 pounds, let's say 10 pounds. And I had a client recently, and I made an agreement that if you go on the program, I'll go on the program with you. And so I had not actually done the program of writing everything down and doing all that stuff because Chris did that. So this time I was the one doing that, but Chris and I went on the program along with my client. And so just coming back to sort of report, we've gone through 2 cycles. And number one, my client at first was disappointed with her weight loss. And one of the things that I did was we had another discussion about why she got started on the program. Her program, she got on the program not to lose weight. She got on the program so that she doesn't have to go on some medication that her doctor suggested. I said, so we're working on getting healthy, not so much on losing weight. But after 2 cycles, we all have new set points. And so my client's set point was about 169 pounds, and her new set point is 159 pounds. So that's a 10-pound set point difference. Chris and I are no longer, we're back to maintenance, but Chris was at about 152 and her new set point is 147. I didn't think I really needed to lose any weight, but I went from 180 and my new set point is 175.
Oh.
And so just to state, after doing 2 cycles of the program and staying clean and doing those things, all 3 of us have new set points. Chris and I have kind of gone back to long-term maintenance, and my client is into another cycle as she continues to try to stay clean before her next doctor's appointment. And then the other point would be just talking about that Yuka app for people who are in the business. Sounds like that possibly getting where I understand that app would be a great opportunity to go back to people who I've talked to about HealthPointe in the past. The timing wasn't right, as to go back and just say, hey, got some new tools, might be interested, touch base with them. That's it.
Great stuff. Anybody else have any commentary on the set points? That's such an important topic. I know David is referring to the set point, and that is, there's a lot to that term, a set point, it's covered in the HealthPointe program for those that kind of actually read through the material and the importance of the set point, that is, and kind of the time that it takes to
Calibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate. I like that. Yes, recalibrate. Yeah, let's chat on that a bit. And anybody, Ron Robin here.
Well, again, it's sort of.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you.
Bueller.
Again, for me, it's sort of like your thermostat. So my thermostat was 180, and no matter what I ate or what I did, my lifestyle, I always sort of came back to 180. That's where my brain had set my body to be at. And when you go through the 2 cycles of HealthPointe, it's like all of a sudden my thermostat is now set at 175 instead of 180. So I'm back to kind of eating the same things that I did when I was in maintenance before, but instead of being at 180, my body is now reset its place at 175. And so when I weigh myself, sometimes I'm 173, 74, 5, 6, 7, but it's right in that 175 range.
Mm-hmm.
I think the set point is a really important thing to keep your eyes on too, especially if you're a new HealthPointe loser. How if you have totally reformed your body, so to speak, it's important to know that it takes time for that set point to lock in. The longer the set point is there, the more it will just absolutely be your thermostat. And I think when a person is on HealthPointe and has successfully lost however much weight they wanted to lose, and they're going into lifetime maintenance, that establishment of the set point has to be done very gradually. And as you're adding more food, and just like add more food in, and while we do that at different intervals, the same thing with maintenance. Maintenance is very methodical. It's not just, okay, I'm down to my weight, and now I'm just going to start adding more food in. Well, yeah, but I think you have to be very careful, especially if you've lost a sizable amount of weight. You have to be very careful to gradually add that food in and be very mindful of what you're adding in or the quantities you're adding in as you are establishing that new set point. And as it says in the materials, it takes 3 to 9 months to set that. It doesn't set in 1 week and stay there no matter what you eat. David's been very mindful as he's added food in. And I think that's real important. Being very mindful and gradually adding and being very, as Bob Andrews would always say, monomaniacal or focused on what you're adding in and how it's adjusting to your weight. Is this your body happy with this? How are you feeling? Is this a healthy thing? That's where that app would come in handy. How are you feeling with it? And then starting to establish that new quote unquote full eating program that was not menu plan anymore, or not even add more food. It's now a full eating plan. And so I think that 3 to 9 months is critical. And I think that's why Chris did so well, David, over that 10 years ago, or maybe longer now. Why she did so well on keeping all that weight off was she was very methodical and entering back in.
Methodical is the word.
Well, that's good. She kept it off.
Yeah, that set point topic, Carol, you hit on, 3 to 9 months. This isn't something that can be rushed, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Exactly. You established habits, and those habits you really, really want to embrace and take care of those habits. That's the most blessed thing you've done for your body, mind, and spirit. And you want to be very, very careful to maintain those, because once they're maintained for that period of time, they are part of you. And Eileen and I had a conversation a while back on that. You're different. She was going basically off the menu plan days. I said, your body is different. So don't compare it to weight you might have lost 8-10 years ago on another plan. This is different, and your body's different. Your mind's different. Your psyche's different. And so we really have to embrace that and protect it, because that's going to be your best friend for the rest of your life and going to add on many, many years of health. If you really do take care of that. It's not licensed to go out and eat chocolate volcanoes and chips and beer. It's you just want to have an attitude that, yeah, I can have a spoonful here and there, or, split up a little dessert, but that's not part of my program anymore. I don't even like that. And we've commented that as you start to eat clean, and as I use that term, clean tongue, establish a clean tongue and a clean mind, you really don't want to go there. You don't want to go there anymore. It looks dirty and trashy, because it is. And so when you get that mental frame of mind and your body follows, you're not going to go back. Not going to go back at all.
Correct. And so while being on maintenance, Chris and I continue to have 1 to 2 salads every day, because we know that lettuce is one of the secrets for staying thin and staying healthy. And we drink a minimum of 4 liters of water every day. and we usually do 8 to 12,000 steps a day. And we weigh ourselves every day so that you see all of a sudden I've gone up 3-4 pounds. It's like, oh, I need to go on a day where I have 2 salads instead of 1, and little things like that, so that we're always observant of where we're at and don't let it get too far away out of the norm that we want to maintain. And so, and then the last part is that when you stop eating sugar, I think Eileen's talked about this, when you do eat sugar, 2 things: it doesn't taste as good, and the second thing is that I feel it in my body. You know, at a birthday party or something like that, and I don't want to be weird, so I have like a small sliver of cake on my plate and a little bit of ice cream. I don't eat it all, but I eat just a little bit of it. But I can feel that sugar buzz pretty quickly because my body's not used to it.
Right.
You just keyed in on something, David.
Bueller's not
said,
weird.
I love it. Guys, you got to be on here for the preamble. We have more fun with our commentary about Bueller, and Kathy had some commentary. Anyhow, that's some internal stuff for those that hop on live and hop on early. All the fun's before the official show starts. But you just said something, David, aka Bueller. You said, I feel it in my body. Okay, you talked about eating that piece of cake. Guys, I think part of this is you unpack this reset that we talk about, the lifetime maintenance. There's a term, maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called interoception. And that is something that we'll just say the typical American, all of us included, maybe before we've done something like a HealthPointe program, our degree of interoception, that is our ability to feel certain aspects internally within our body that we never did before. You know, you talked, David, about how you feel different. And I guess maybe somebody eats a piece of cake, maybe people that haven't even advanced on their level of interoception would have a certain degree of that, but you become increasingly tuned into the biorhythms of your body, you know, kind of, I tell you, even absent of a CGM or poking a finger with a glucose monitor and monitoring my blood sugar, I bet you I could guess my blood sugar level within 5 points, maybe 5 or 10 points, just based on that enhanced level of inner sense, that interoception. I know my wife, Emily, she could probably do the same thing. Other things, I mean, deep interoception would be having a real awareness of the internal mechanisms of your body, you know, heart rate, certain, you know, vascular issues and so forth. But wow, what a wonderful thing to have that increased sense of things, that increased awareness of it. So that's one takeaway. Thanks for that, David. And then I tell you, on this lifetime maintenance and this reset that you're talking about, and those are 3 great examples, David. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. I'll just throw it out there that who in my experience, find that is at most risk of not doing this segment well, and therefore being at risk of the proverbial yo-yo, is someone, I'll tell you who's not at risk. Somebody that takes, we'll call it a year, at least 6 months, but I'll say a year or longer on their 6-week back-to-backs HealthPointe journey. Because this gives that increased interoception, this gives that all those external factors, those healthy habits,
The rhythm of the program.
The rhythm of the program and the skill sets. Okay, let me compare and contrast. Let's take somebody that takes a year to reach their ultimate health goal versus somebody that takes, you know, 2-3 cycles. Okay, the person that does 2 or 3 cycles how many times have they been impacted by the weddings that they go to? How many times have they been impacted by, hurricanes coming through and disrupting their schedule? How many times have they, or are they still at risk, prone to those social gatherings where, their friends, family, and so forth kind of pulls them into poor choices? Now you get somebody that's a year, or somebody maybe they've done 2 or 3 cycles, but then they go those 3 to 9 months continually checking in with their coach and building those skill sets. You now are fortified. You now have the emotional, psychological strength. You are, you are not shy about your positioning in this world. And I know we have fun, with the term, saying don't be weird. And I want to hang on to that because I love that term. But you know what? I just heard something the other day, outside of our program here, where someone was advocating to be weird. And this is what they said: being weird is being different than the majority, right?
Yes.
I mean, by definition, that is being weird. You got the majorities that's doing something. It doesn't matter for the moment whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll just say it's a majority. What are the majority of Americans when it comes to health? Unhealthy. The majority of the 300 plus million Americans are unhealthy. Statistically, they're unhealthy. So if you're choosing to be healthy, you, by definition, are weird. You are the minority, not the majority. You are the 1 in the 100. You are the black sheep in the sea of white sheep. And when you properly do maintenance mode, or if your particular health journey required you to go 6 months or a year back to back, you have built up these fortifications, these strengths, these psychological, these emotionals. No longer do you feel weak in the knees when you get around a bunch of friends that are going to start making poor choices. No longer are you going to get weak in the knees and shrivel up when you need to pack a suitcase and hop on a plane, because you've built those skill sets and you've built those and you embrace them. It's your life. It's your new life. And so, guys, I'm not saying let's make a call to action to be weird, but I kind of am. I like being weird. I like in this sense, right? I like being weird, because being weird in the health region, I mean, I hope in time, but we've got a long ways to go. In time, we will no longer be weird. Why? Because instead of having 88% of the 330 million Americans being metabolically dysfunctional and chronically ill, they will be, let's call it at least 51%. Let's get a majority that are metabolically healthy, and no longer will those of us in this community be weird, because we'll be in the majority. But in the meantime, I'm making a shout out to let's be weird. Let's stand out. Let's be loud and proud and be weird.
I think I like the word weird, but if you want something that has a less negative connotation, it might be confidently unique. Because
like
when you're unique, it puts you at a higher level, and you're confident in your choices, and it kind of elevates that whole. Yeah, you're weird because, good morning, you change your choices, but you're confident and you're uniquely structured now because of information you've learned over the years. And so now you can go out in confidence, and if you're at a birthday party and just choose not to get a piece of cake, you just say, no, thank you. And just leave it at that, and just be confident in there. And you know what happens? People don't even call you on it anymore. In the beginning, they might call you on it because you're making different choices. But after a while, they'll learn to respect you because you're confidently unique.
Yes. I totally agree. There was an episode a while back where we talked about particular gal who's done great, met her ultimate goal, and we were kind of like, uh-oh, when she first got started, she was immediately going into a Memorial Day party with friends, and they kind of picked on her a little bit, called her Sober Stacy. Okay,
Mhm.
and you know what? Now she's 30 pounds down. A number of people, coworkers and stuff, they're coming around and saying, hey, tell me about this program that you did. You look great. Wow, look at you. And that's one thing. And by the way, I love that reframing the terminology there, confidently unique in terms of being weird. And here's the other thing, I'll continue with the weird term just to make my point, but there's some things where somebody is weird, and if you're in the majority and you kind of single out in your mind or whatever that weird person in the crowd, you kind of don't want to be like that weird person, right? Because they're different, but they're truly weird, and you're like, kind of whatever that characteristic is, however you want to define it. But who would not want to be weird if that means healthy, confident, vibrant, going out and helping people after Hurricane Milton because you're physically able to, because you're 70 pounds down, or collectively as a couple 110 pounds down? Who would not want to be that kind of weird? And so yes, it's weird, or yes, it's confidently unique. And I like how you frame that, Carol, because sometimes there's shifts in society where what is very unfavorable becomes popular and therefore not weird. And there's that silent, sometimes silent majority, but though even that majority or silent minority that kind of stands out. But in this case, I mean, who wants to be in the majority and have chronic disease? Who wants to be in the majority and not be able to get out and help and provide relief for your neighbors after a major storm hits your state? Who doesn't want to be like that? I will maintain that everybody wants to be like that. They want to be in that small crowd of weird people that are confidently unique, and they built the skill sets, they built the healthy habits, they've got the tools, they've got the knowledge of how to go about their healthy habits, they've got world-class supplementation to be able to fortify their cells and build optimal health. So I think that it's call it confidently unique. I do like that. Call it weird, but the majority out there prefers to be with the weird crowd, with the confidently unique crowd. And sometimes it just takes a little invite, a little bit of information to be able to help them move in that direction. Great segment. Thanks for teeing that up,
Eric,
Weird David. Hank, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well.
Yeah, I just want to share this with you, and because being around this on Earth as long as I have, I've experienced a lot of different things, of course. And somebody had put two pictures together. I saw somewhere, and I got to find them. People on the beach. A picture from 1950, and then a current picture. The picture in 1950, there wasn't one fat person on that beach. They're all in nice swimming suits, slim, and so on and so forth. I mean, it was a beautiful picture this person took somewhere or found. And then the picture from more recent was totally opposite. Okay. And as I think back in the 50s, we did not eat boxed food. All right. We ate real food. I know my mother cooked everything from the scratch. She made her own soups, on and on and on. But today, people, I mean, it's got to be, just they don't take the time to eat properly, of course, and they eat this boxed food junk that's in the stores. And what they've done to our foods, we all know that. So, huge difference. And those two pictures really told a story. If I can find those two pictures again somewhere, I'll forward them to you guys. But it was unbelievable. Really impressive.
Yeah, I think I may have seen that picture, Hank, that you're referring to, and it's startling.
Yeah.
It really is startling.
You
I
know,
think,
there's so many alternatives too. Thinking back as I was listening to Hank, these 2 days that we spent in Venice with our health-oriented friend, and she studied health back when we did. So that's a long time. So she's got it in her veins, and it was interesting because she was making a cup of coffee, and it was a mushroom coffee, and it had tons of amino acids in it, and it's really, really good. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I sat there and drank a cup a couple of times, and it was just so nice, and it was nutritious. A mushroom coffee. And then what was the other thing? Oh, she offered us some little fresh fruit and these little cookies. Now these cookies were like, I'm going to date myself now, but Nabisco had a little small wafer, a little white wafer, very, very little sugar in it. And she offered us one of those, and I kind of had a retro moment back in the 50s and 60s when those were even in the market. I don't even know if they're in the market anymore, but it's just little things like that. So you're not denying, you're just making better choices, going back to that. And I think it's kind of fun because you can share with each other different choices. And then you can also go on Yuka and see if that's a good choice. So we have so much ingenious things that we can do today. It just really becomes, I think, fun and a way of life. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as always, we're just hitting on so many amazing things as we kind of just hit on a bit of a round robin here. I'm going to jump into a topic, and I kind of teed up in the docket lineup. I can remember the first time I heard the term leaky gut, and I don't know if people either on this program or people listening to this program have ever heard that term. I would suspect at this point, probably a lot of people have. For me, it was maybe a little over a year ago was the first time I heard it. And I thought it was such a strange term, right? The first time you hear anything, it's like, wow, what a strange term. And this term leaky gut. And now it's become, I probably heard that term because I'm so engaged in this world of health. I probably heard that term so much that it's kind of lost its luster. It's kind of lost its unique, kind of your curiosity about it. And what exactly is that, and why is that an important topic? And so for any of you out there that are like me, that kind of want to revisit leaky gut and why it's so important when it comes to the topic of inflammation, chronic inflammation, I'm going to kind of deep dive, go down the rabbit hole, kind of a little bit of a science corner here, and dig into that deeper. And it's interesting when you talk about a leaky gut. In fact, we had a couple of things just last evening, Emily and I did, that kind of informed me on this topic I was going to be covering today. One was I actually make my coffee, my morning coffee, the night before, and then I put it in a thermos. Okay. But my point is that I was having problems with the coffee filter, and your intestinal tract, as we get into this science here, if you can imagine just the picture of your intestinal tract, your gut that you don't want to be leaky, think of it like that coffee filter. You want nutrients or coffee, coffee ground infused water to permeate through the filter and make your coffee. And but you don't want the chunky stuff, the grounds and whatnot, which is what was happening with mine last night as I was fussing with it. You don't want that stuff going into your what you're going to drink, right? You don't want a cup of coffee that's got chunks of grounds and stuff in it. And likewise with your gut, you want the nutrients to permeate through and so forth, but you don't want the chunks, the junk, the chunks and junk to permeate through. And so we're going to unpack that a little bit. The second thing, and I'll do a little bit of an add-on to my segment that kind of informed me. We had great friends of ours. They popped by. I had just gotten home, actually, kind of closing down the cottage, had a full load in the vehicle and stuff, and got back, and they were coming on over. It was a great visit, but this particular individual, due to some things with some oral surgery, was kind of on some heavy, had been on some very heavy dosage of pain relievers and stuff like that. And I want to kind of talk to that a little bit, because there are times where certain medications are used. I think being informed on the use of that, as they are, particularly his wife, who I believe has a nursing background, was very informed on that. But in the context of your gut and what certain pharmaceuticals and drugs and so forth can do on that. So I'm gonna add on that little bit of a segment there that may be of value to people. But let me go down the rabbit hole here with you guys. So imagine if I dumped bacteria, toxins, and undigested food particles directly into your bloodstream right now. Okay. What do you think would happen? You'd likely experience an immediate, dangerous immune response. Your body would recognize these foreign invaders as threats and launch into defense mode. The reality is, this scenario is a glimpse of what occurs when your gut barrier is compromised, a condition known as leaky gut. At the core of leaky gut is the breakdown of the gut's protective barriers, the mucin layer and the epithelial layer. And we're going to chat about that a bit. The mucin layer and the epithelial layer. Think of the mucin layer as a slick coating that lines your intestines, a mucus barrier that protects the underlying epithelial cells, which form the gut lining. The mucin layer serves as a first line of defense, keeping harmful substances like bacteria and toxins away from the delicate epithelial cells beneath it. As I was learning more about this, it's fun. You can see some of these animations of epithelial layer. It's really beautiful. It sounds gross, but it's actually very beautiful. So if the mucin layer is compromised, those harmful particles have easier access to the gut lining. The epithelial layer just beneath the mucin is made up of cells tightly packed together, functioning as the gatekeeper of the gut. These cells are responsible for selectively allowing nutrients and water to pass into the bloodstream while keeping larger harmful particles out. Remember the coffee filter metaphor? Okay, so that coffee filter that was causing me fits last night. Okay, so it keeps those particles out. This layer is fortified by tight junctions, which act like seals between the cells to prevent anything undesirable from slipping through. But when these tight junctions are damaged, whether by poor diet, stress, or inflammation, they become permeable, allowing particles that should never make it into your bloodstream to pass through, leading to systemic issues. Now, this is where things take a turn for the worse. When the epithelial barrier fails, undigested food particles, bacterial fragments, and toxins seep into the bloodstream. The immune system immediately detects these invaders, triggering a persistent inflammatory response. And while acute inflammation, like the kind you get from a sprained ankle or a cut, is crucial for healing, a chronic inflammation is a different story. Chronic inflammation is the body's ongoing, misguided attempt to fix a problem that never fully goes away, creating a constant state of stress for the immune system. When you get a cut, your body inflames the area to clear out damaged tissue and facilitate healing. This is localized and temporary, a natural, healthy response. Even whole body inflammation, like a fever, is helpful when fighting off infections, as it raises your body's temperature to kill pathogens. But if your body were in a constant state of low-grade inflammation, fighting against invaders that repeatedly leak into your bloodstream, the effects would be disastrous. Chronic inflammation is now a widespread issue, with an estimated 62% of Americans suffering from it. The long-term inflammatory response has been linked to numerous debilitating conditions, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. Common symptoms, think about this, you ever experienced this or know people that have, common symptoms range from fatigue, joint pain, and digestive issues to more severe outcomes like neurodegenerative diseases and early death. Chronic inflammation wreaks havoc on the body, keeping it in a perpetual state of damage control. The root cause often is what we're putting into our bodies. Ultra-processed food laden with sugars, particularly fructose, and seed oils high in omega-6 fatty acids play a significant role in eroding the gut's protective barriers. While we do need some omega-6 in our diet, the modern American diet is wildly imbalanced, with the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids sometimes as high as 20-1 on the ratio, when it should ideally be 4-1 and arguably some would argue even 2-1. This imbalance exasperates the inflammatory response and accelerates damage to the gut lining. What to add? So we talk about what to take out, the basically ultra processed food, the sugars, particularly the fructose, but what to add? The anti-inflammatory trio. If you're wondering how to repair and protect your gut, look no further than the 3 key dietary additions: fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, and vitamin D. Fiber is the essential fuel for your gut's mucin layer and microbiome. When you consume whole foods rich in fiber, you're feeding the beneficial bacteria that reside in your intestines. Sometimes you might think of this, or you might get questions on this if you're a coach or facilitator, is, fiber is passing through by definition, right? So how is that of any value? The value is you've got these healthy bacteria, potentially you should have in your body. That's what they need. That's their food. That's their fuel. So the fiber in and of itself is not necessarily fueling your body, but it's feeding the things that fuel your body. So remember that. So again, when you consume whole foods rich in fiber, you're feeding the beneficial bacteria that reside in your intestines. These bacteria, in turn, ferment the fiber and produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which help maintain the integrity of the mucin layer and reduce inflammation in the gut. Without adequate fiber, the mucin layer thins, allowing harmful substances to reach the epithelial layer, further promoting leaky gut. Shockingly, about 93% of Americans do not get enough fiber, putting over 310 million people in the United States at risk for gut health issues. Second in the trio, omega-3 fatty acids. These work in opposition to omega-6 fatty acids, helping to tamp down inflammation and support immune health. Omega-3s, especially EPA and DHA found in marine life, are essential for proper cell function, particularly in the brain and the heart. By restoring balance to the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, you help reduce systemic inflammation and promote healing in your gut. Unfortunately, over 70% of Americans are deficient in omega-3 fatty acids, which equates to over 230 million Americans. And last is vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in regulating the immune system and preventing inflammation from spiraling out of control. It helps suppress inflammatory responses by controlling certain receptors that would otherwise trigger excessive immune activity. Adequate vitamin D levels are crucial for maintaining a healthy gut barrier and preventing chronic inflammation from taking hold. And I know we've talked so much on vitamin D on our Voices of HealthPointe program, but still, statistically, approximately 42% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. So that's, obviously over 100 million people. So by eliminating the triggers of inflammation and introducing these protective elements, you can begin to heal your gut and, by extension, reduce the chronic inflammation that threatens your long-term health. Remember, the goal is not just to stop the leakage, but to fortify your gut against future harm. Okay, before I transition into a short segment that got picked up from our friends visiting yesterday about pharmaceuticals and drugs and their impact, mentioned in the trio there, omegas. Okay, guys, these little beauties here our omega-3s. These are the advanced omegas, which is actually a better value. Thank you, Carol, for pointing that out to me once. You know, there's two different choices of our omega product, and the advanced is actually a better, cost dollar value. But, you know, when we're supplementing, we're just ensuring that habitual intake of, you know, these important micronutrients. In this case, we're focusing on gut health, but obviously omega-3 has additional health benefits. And, you know, how often are you going to eat sardines and mackerel and fatty fish in a week versus can you take, you know, one of these in the morning and one of these in the evening? You know, that's what we're talking about. Talking about vitamin D, our vitamin D product is, you know, phenomenal. And I've spoken before, one of our friends, one of our business mentors and direct coaches, Marnie, spoke about somebody that she met. And we often think because these are world-class, high quality products, these are not the types of supplements you buy in gas stations, that they would naturally be more expensive. And sometimes they are, but they're a different value, they're a different product. But in this case, she was sharing how this person said, oh, wow, yours is actually cheaper than the junky stuff. Then it actually it doesn't talk directly about probiotics. It talks about fiber, but I just want to give a shout out that having a probiotic, obviously you're talking about gut health. This happens to be the stress relief, which is the melon-based, kind of unique one, but there's two, and there is the kind that comes in the sachet. Hank, I know you often talk about that one. Great product. So, you know, just make your choice, but do be taking a probiotic on a supplement basis to, you know, have that consistency of that daily habit. And guys, those of you that are taking this, if we just think of gut health in general, it's just kind of a macro product. It's fun that this is a bigger container because here we're talking about this Begin product. And Hank and Carol, I know you guys talked about this early on. You had some of the early release stuff, but Zoom doesn't have smell-o-vision. But if it did, oh my gosh, guys, I love the smell of this, you know, and I know, you know, different strokes for different folks. I personally really enjoy the flavor of this. You just, you know, take one of those scoops. I actually take one of the longer scoops out of my amino acid product, you know, that has the longer handle on it. Little trick there, but just, you know, some of that, you know, beautiful green powder. I know we've spoken about it before, Carol, about that ginger that's in here. You were talking about some health benefits of ginger, and I said, boy, I wonder if that Begin product has ginger in it, because I kind of taste a slight amount of that, and sure enough, it does. It's the first ingredient in their proprietary blend of herbs that's in there. But this is a GI, gastrointestinal primer. This is a daily GI primer. So those products are absolutely speaking to this topic of having a healthy gut. So just to kind of add on to this again briefly, because you know, our friends were over and he had some oral surgery stuff that kind of went awry. And I want to touch on that because many people have experienced things with different drugs or whatever. So I want to talk about that. Okay. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay. Otherwise, you might see them labeled as NSAIDs. Okay. So common NSAIDs like ibuprofen, aspirin, and naproxen are widely used for pain relief and reducing inflammation. However, frequent and long-term use of NSAIDs can cause significant damage to the GI tract. Okay. The key thing here is this point, the erosion of the mucin layer. So we just went down the rabbit hole on the mucin layer. NSAIDs can reduce the production of protective mucus in the gut, thinning the mucin layer that shields the epithelial cells from stomach acid and harmful substances. This makes the gut lining more vulnerable to damage. Let's talk about They can also lead to increased gut permeability. What are we talking about there? We're talking about leaky gut. So these same drugs, pain relievers, etc., can by disrupting the epithelial cells, the tight junctions, NSAIDs can make the gut lining more permeable. This allows harmful substances like toxins and bacteria to leak into the bloodstream, promoting chronic inflammation. Also, ulcer formation, the suppression of protected mucus and increased gut permeability can lead to ulcers, particularly in the stomach and upper intestine. Number 2, antibiotics. Antibiotics are crucial for treating bacterial infections, but they can also negatively impact gut health by disrupting the gut microbiome. Now, I know there's different thoughts and different modalities on the value of antibiotics, but just for this source, let's talk about the non-weird people out there, the non-confidently unique people out there that maybe routinely go to antibiotics. And I think when antibiotics were originally discovered, I mean, it led to a great reduction in death due to runaway infection. So let's just, for the sake of that, say antibiotics are crucial for treating bacterial infections, but they can also negatively impact gut health by disrupting the gut microbiome. Dysbiosis, which is the microbiome imbalance. Dysbiosis. Antibiotics not only kill harmful bacteria, but also the beneficial bacteria that help maintain gut health. This disruption of the microbiome can lead to dysbiosis, where harmful bacteria may overgrow and the balance of the bacteria is lost, right? You've got more harmful than you do helpful. It also can reduce the mucin layer, and it also can lead to inflammation. And then lastly, the PPIs. And Carol, I think it was you that spoke on this in a recent episode, the proton pump inhibitors, medications, various PPI medications used to reduce stomach acid can also have a negative effect on gut health. It can cause disrupted microbiome. By reducing stomach acid, PPIs create an environment where harmful bacteria can thrive. Stomach acid is one of the body's defenses against pathogens, and with lower acid levels, harmful bacteria may grow and cause inflammation. Additionally, gut infections. People who take PPIs long-term have an increased risk of gut infections, such as Clostridium difficile. I'm not going to try that one. We'll just go with the Clostridium, and we'll just call it a gut infection. A harmful bacterium, okay, that's the key. It's a harmful bacterium that can cause severe diarrhea and inflammation in the colon, okay? And that's, again, used due to maybe more chronic use of these PPIs. I'm sorry, there's one more. Lastly, the opioids, okay? We all hear about opioids. Opioid pain relievers, while effective for severe pain, also negatively impact gut health. It can have slowed gut mobility. Opioids slow down the movement of the gut, leading to constipation and other digestive issues. This sluggish gut can increase the chances of gut dysbiosis and discomfort. And then also the overall microbiome disruption. Chronic opioid use has been associated with changes in the gut microbiome, potentially leading to inflammation and other gut-related issues. So while pharmaceuticals like NSAIDs, antibiotics, and opioids serve certain medical purposes, they can also cause damage to the gut, especially when used frequently or over long periods. That's what our friends that were over last evening, the wife in particular, was actually giving pushback on the doctor and saying, hey, this stuff should not be being taken for this long. And so she weighed in strongly, and actually they fired that particular oral surgeon because he had very moronic responses to them. We'll just say that. So they got a better physician. So protecting gut health while using these medications through dietary changes or supplements is often advised. Okay, that's our rabbit hole. We're coming back up out of our rabbit hole, back up to fresh air. Just did a deep dive down that subject of leaky gut because, again, I heard this, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe a little over a year ago, and it was novel to me and interesting to me at that time. And then you know, everybody gets on the bandwagon, it seems, of leaky gut, and you hear about it incessantly, and you lose your curiosity or the details of what's actually happening and how you can impact it and how we do impact it definitely within our HealthPointe program. So with that, I'll open it back up for any thoughts before we kind of wrap up our show here. If anyone has any additional comments. And if not, or if anybody thinks that they're talking and they're actually muted, or maybe everybody's still down that rabbit hole and they haven't been able to come back up. Okay. Well, listen, this, as always, has been a phenomenal show. Hank and Carol, Bruce and Eileen, so grateful all of us are that you survived and arguably thrived through not one, but 2 hurricanes. You had Helene, and then, gosh, what was it? Just 2 weeks later, in rolls Milton. And we were the beneficiaries of that because you got to spend some time with some friends, Hank and Carol, you did, and you know, share that information, that health information with us here in our Voices of HealthPointe. And then Bruce and Eileen, just so thrilled that you guys are you're healthy yourselves now, and so you can go out and now that you've helped yourself, help others. So to everyone else, David Dassow, my Bueller friend, thank you so much for things that you added in here in terms of the all-important reset. And hope it looks like we had lost Carol there. She's just coming back in here. So Carol, if you're just coming back online, we're kind of wrapping it up. I know we lost you there for a second, but
Sorry
if anybody
about
has any
that.
quick, no problem. Any quick commentary or comments before we call it a wrap, or is
No,
Is
but as I was
everybody-
listening to you, I could think of a few people that I'd like to send this recording to, because I think that whole gut thing is it's just it's a web that, you know, just kind of one thing causes the other. And I think that's always the challenge when people, they really need to be thinking, I'm not saying that there's not a place for medications, but they really need to be thinking and taking control of that. And how many things can I do before I actually resort to a medication? Because this is exactly what happens. One thing leads to another, and your system is it's so correct. It's so well put together, and it just, we gotta really help it with all kinds of nutrients and healthy living to just make it functional, so that when these things happen, we can cure ourselves rather than a medicine. And then again, it's not 100%, but I'm just saying that's your first line of defense. So that was very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry,
absolutely.
my phone did burn out.
No problem. No problem. Well, I was just saying, and you'll hear it in the recording, I was just thanking, and we're just grateful for you and Hank, not only surviving, but arguably thriving through these 2 recent storms that have hit your state, and as well as Bruce and Eileen. And a shout out to David as well for, you know, queuing up this reset with his 3 examples there, and just a really healthy topic on this all important lifetime maintenance, recalibrating your body. So thank you on that, David. And so, and Hank and anybody that I haven't mentioned, thank you so much. That'll do it for this episode of Voices of HealthPointe. And we'll see everybody next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you,
Adios.
everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.